Hello and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's begin with the day's top stories. Take strict action against people spreading false news and rumours. Union Home Ministry issues guidelines to state governments and union territories, advises all necessary steps be taken to protect citizens and property. No Indian needs to worry about Citizenship Amendment Act, assures Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Appeals for peace amid reports of violent protests from some places across the country. Asserts that only disagreement and not violence has any place in a democracy. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu calls for efforts to prioritize safety and health of mining industry workers. In an address at the National Safety Award ceremony, underscores need to ensure safer workplaces with better use of technical resources and e-governance. Two-member Supreme Court committee to monitor progress of rape cases. Panel to suggest ways to speed up trials. Chief Justice expresses concern over lack of compliance by states on its order to form POCSO courts. And more than 62% polling in the fourth phase of Jharkhand elections. Votes cast for 15 seats in 4 districts. Campaigning intensifies now for the fifth phase. BJP President and Union Home Minister Amit Shah addresses public meetings in the state. Says opposition misusing national issues for petty political gains. Our top story this evening. In view of the ongoing violent protests across the country over the amended citizenship law, the Home Ministry issued an advisory to all states and union territories on checking incidents of violence and also to ensure safety of life and property. The advisory has asked states to take strict action against those spreading fake news on social media and other requisite measures to maintain law and order. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called violent protests over the Citizenship Amendment Act unfortunate and deeply distressing. In a series of tweets, the Prime Minister said that vested interest groups cannot be allowed to divide and create disturbance in the country. He called for working together for the development of India and the empowerment of every Indian, especially the poor, downtrodden and the marginalized. And Union Home Minister Amit Shah has urged the students to stay away from violence. Addressing a public rally at Portability in Jharkhand, Amit Shah appealed to students to study the Citizenship Amendment Bill in detail, asserting that it has no provision to take away the citizenship of anyone. He said the opposition parties are misleading the students and creating an atmosphere of violence across the country. He also asked the opposition parties to abjure violence.
मैं सबको कहना चाहता हूं कि सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट किसी की नागरिकता छीनने का काम नहीं कर रहा है, वो नागरिकता देने का काम कर रहा है, वो गरीब दुखियारे लोगों को नागरिकता देने का काम कर रहा है। मित्रों, आज इस मंच से मैं विद्यार्थियों को भी अपील करना चाहता हूं कि आप सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट का अभ्यास करिए। इसमें किसी की भी नागरिकता छीनने का कोई प्रावधान ही नहीं है। ये कांग्रेस पार्टी, आप पार्टी और टीएमसी आपको गुमराह कर रहे हैं और देश के अंदर हिंसा का वातावरण पैदा कर रहे हैं। मैं कांग्रेस पार्टी और टीएमसी को और आप पार्टी को भी कहना चाहता हूं कि कृपया ये रास्ते से वापिस आ जाइए। ये रास्ता किसी का भला नहीं करता है। और युवा को भी कहना चाहता हूं, ये एक्ट का आप अभ्यास करिए, इसमें किसी की भी नागरिकता छीनने का कोई प्रावधान कतई कहीं पर भी नहीं है।
Meanwhile, the Delhi police has clarified that there was no firing during Sunday's protests at Delhi's Jamia Millia Islamia University. The Delhi police PRO MS Randhawa said the police used maximum restraint, minimum force, despite being provoked by protesters and did not carry any firearms. He added that the crime branch will investigate the Jamia violence and also urged people not to pay any attention to rumors being spread on social media. According to the police, 4 DTC buses, 100 private vehicles and 10 police bikes were damaged during the protests on Sunday.
माता मंदिर मार्ग आपको मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि एनएफसी के अंदर का एक रोड है, वहां रेजिडेंट्स हैं, मेन रेजिडेंट्स हैं। वहां जाके इन्होंने थोड़ा, जब इनको पीछे पुश करने की कोशिश की, थोड़ा तोड़फोड़ शुरू कर दी और उसी में ही जो हमने मिनिमम फोर्स का यूज किया, क्योंकि वहां बसेस को आग लगा दी। वहां के रेजिडेंट्स की पैनिक कॉल आनी शुरू हो गई। फिर उनको पीछे खदेड़ने के लिए, ताकि जो मेन था कि उनको वापस फिर सराय जुलाना चौक और उसके पीछे जो इनका जामिया नगर है वहां वापस भेज दिया जाए। वहां जब इनको पुश किया गया तो मीनवाइल जब पीछे को उनको पुश कर रहे थे, रास्ते में एक होली फैमिली हॉस्पिटल है, वहां पे पथराव हुआ। उसके बाद और इनको पीछे गया गया। जैसे मैंने बताया कि जो कैंपस शुरू हो जाता है, मेन रोड के दोनों साइड रोड इनका कैंपस एरिया है यूनिवर्सिटी का, वहां से पथराव हुआ है। वहां से बल्ब, ट्यूबलाइट्स वगैरह और बॉटल्स वगैरह भी फेंकी हैं पुलिस के और काफी पथराव हुआ और वहां पे इनको फिर पीछे पुश करके और इनको जामिया में पुश कर दिया गया और सिचुएशन को अंडर कंट्रोल किया गया।
The Supreme Court will hear all pleas related to the Jamia Millia Islamia clashes on Tuesday. The Apex Court agreed to hear the matter pertaining to the alleged police action on students of the university and also the Aligarh Muslim University in Uttar Pradesh that took place on Sunday. While agreeing to hear the matter, the top court also issued a stern warning to students to stop the riots immediately, citing destruction of property amid anti-Citizenship Amendment Act protests in the national capital. Chief Justice S.A. Bobde said that if violence and destruction of public property continues, the court will not hear it. The Delhi police has also registered 2 FIRs against Jamia students for arson and rioting during the anti-bill protests. Several PILs have also been filed after violent clashes were reported between the Delhi police and the Jamia students on Sunday. Pleas on similar clashes in Aligarh Muslim University will also be held by the Supreme Court on Tuesday. The Calcutta High Court has directed the state government to file a report on action taken regarding law and order situation in West Bengal amid protests against the citizenship law in the state. A division bench of Chief Justice T.B.N. Radhakrishnan and Justice H. Bhattacharya gave the directions on a petition filed by a resident of Havra that has seen incidents of vandalism and arson. The court directed the state government to file the report by the 18th of December, when the matter will be heard next. And the Supreme Court has reprimanded states for non-implementation of its order for the formation of special POCSO courts and the appointment of public prosecutors for hearing in cases of sexual exploitation against children. In July this year, the Apex Court had directed the setting up of special courts in each district across the country that had over 100 cases of child abuse and sexual assault pending trial under the POCSO Act. A bench led by the Chief Justice had directed the courts to be set up within 60 days. The deadline has now been extended till February. Besides, in an important administrative decision taken by Chief Justice S.A. Bobde in consultation with other senior judges for speedy trials in rape cases, a 2-member judges committee will be set up to facilitate speedy trial in all rape cases across the country. Justices R. Subhash Reddy and M.R. Shah will be part of this committee. And the Supreme Court has said that there is a need to evolve guidelines for the right to information law to stop its misuse. The top court expressed concern on people who are not connected to the issue filing of RTI, which can lead to criminal intimidation. The apex court also said that there was a need to evolve some mechanism to ensure that only the affected or the concerned person take recourse of the power. The apex court also directed the centre and various state governments to appoint information commissioners in the Central Information Commission and the State Information Commissions within 3 months. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Monday asserted that mining industry should give top priority to safety, health and the life of all its workers. The Vice President presented the National Safety Awards for the year 2015-16 at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. And addressing the gathering, he said that the mining sector should provide a safe and secure workplace, and therefore there is a need for use of technical tools and e-governance in this sector.
Every worker has a right to safe and decent work environment. It is the duty of the management, private or public, or the government to see that the interest, safety, security of the workers is maintained. Our aim should be constantly endeavor towards the goal of zero harm. Despite technological advances, mining operations are subject to safety and health hazards for workers such as inhalation of dust, inhalation of toxic fumes and gases, exposure to radiation, noise-reduced hearing loss, heart stroke, exhaustion, etc.
The Vice President also said that the mining sector contributes around 2.6% of our national GDP and provides direct and indirect employment to over 10 million people. He added that these resources should be further expanded for faster economic growth. Union Labour Minister Santosh Gangwar also said that the government is committed to provide better working conditions to the workers.
Country's mining sector forms an important segment of the economy, contributing around 2.6% of our national GDP. In the year 1819, the gross value addition by mining and quarrying sector was rupees 4,10,000 crores. It also provides direct and indirect employment to over 10 million people across the country. Since independence, there has been a phenomenal growth in mineral production, both in terms of quantity and value. Today, we are ranked between 4 to 6 in the global production of minerals such as bauxite, chromite, iron ore and manganese. We should further aspire to expand the value chain of our key mineral to leverage these resources for faster economic development.
सभी श्रमिकों के हितों की रक्षा करने के उद्देश्य से हमारे मंत्रालय ने 2014 से लेबर रिफॉर्म्स का काम शुरू किया है और आदरणीय माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के अभूतपूर्व नेतृत्व में हमने श्रम कानूनों की जटिलताओं को कम करने का महाअभियान शुरू किया है। 2014 से आज 5 वर्ष के बाद 2019 में जो 44 श्रम कानून थे उनको 4 लेबर कोड्स में परिवर्तित करने का काम हम लोग पूर्ण कर रहे हैं। आज के दिन मैं बड़ी प्रसन्नता के साथ ये कह सकता हूं कि 4 में से पहला कोड ऑन वेजेस सदन के दोनों सदनों द्वारा पारित किया जा चुका है।
Meanwhile, the Vice President also expressed concern about the violence across the country. He said that no problem can be solved through violence and it only obstructs the path of development.
We are in free India, our own India. If you are obstructing, that means you are obstructing the growth. If you are destroying, means you are destroying the nation's wealth. The other day, some public transport has been destroyed. Who are the losers? After the people. Any violence is not going to solve any problem at all. The law enforcing agencies must be tough. They must do their duty. At the same time, the trade unions or the student bodies or the legislative bodies, everyone has a responsibility. And think twice before doing anything which is obstructive, destructive.
Over 62% voter turnout was recorded at the end of the fourth phase of assembly elections in Jharkhand. 5 constituencies spread over 4 districts of Dhanbad, Devghar, Giridih and Bokaro went to polls in this phase. Polling in the 5 Naxal-affected constituencies of Bagodar, Jamui, Giridih, Dumri and Tundi was held between 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. While in the remaining 10 seats, voting concluded at 5 p.m. Elaborate security arrangements were made in every booth to ensure free, fair and peaceful polling. The Election Commission also arranged webcasting facilities at 2,122 polling stations to ensure transparent conduct of the polls. A total of 221 candidates, including 3 women, are in the fray in this phase. The fate of 2 Jharkhand ministers, Raj Paliwar and Amar Bauri, 7 former ministers and 14 sitting MLAs will be decided in this phase. The 5th and the final phase of elections will be held on the 20th of December, which will cover the remaining 16 seats. And time for a short break here. More news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
On this edition of India's World, we will analyze India's strategy in the Indian Ocean region.
India has been calling for an Indian Ocean that is mutually beneficial, cooperative, free, inclusive, and has a more openness to it.
And India has enormous advantage of being actually jetted out into Indian Ocean territory. And I think that is the larger canvas which makes several other nations recognize India's salience in that sense, which could be partly driven by their consciousness as well of China becoming a new naval and maritime player in the region.
We need to improve maritime governance so that we can address common non-traditional challenges like human trafficking, climate change, the damage to the biodiversity. So these are some of the challenges which are facing us and which we must address.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
How Rajya Sabha makes law on state subject. Rajya Sabha empowers the Parliament to make law on the state subject by passing a resolution by a majority of not less than 2/3 of members present and voting.
Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Monday held pre-budget consultations with various stakeholders. The meeting took place in connection with the forthcoming union budget for the year 2020-21. The Finance Minister held the first meeting with stakeholders groups of new economy, startups, fintech and digital sector. During the meet, the main areas of discussion included the role of the government, regulation of digital economy, financial regulation, ease of doing business, environment for startups, among others. The meeting was attended by Minister of State for Finance Anurag Singh Thakur, Finance Secretary Rajiv Kumar, Chief Economic Advisor K.V. Subramaniam, and several Finance Ministry officials. Later in the day, the Finance Minister held another meeting with representatives of financial sector as well as the capital market. The central government on Monday released about 35,000 crore rupees fund to states and union territories as pending GST compensation. The move comes after finance ministers and representatives of opposition-ruled states held meetings with the finance minister earlier this month, expressing their concern over the delay in payment of compensation. So earlier on Monday, the finance minister assured states that the centre will not renege on the promise of GST compensation. The GST Council meeting is slated to be held on the 18th of December. RBI Governor Shaktikant Das has said that there are signs of investment cycle picking up, as shown by a survey done by the central bank of unaudited financial statements of 1,539 listed manufacturing companies. The RBI governor also said that the central bank had acted ahead of time by starting to slash rates in February this year and hoped the decision to pause the cuts earlier this month will prove to be a right call over time. The comments from the RBI governor come following a series of 5 consecutive rate cuts by the RBI starting February this year by a cumulative 1.35%. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has implemented the revised mobile number portability rules starting Monday. The new rules will enable users to port to a new telecom operator in just 2 days. The overall time for porting has been reduced to 48 hours from the previous 96 hours. As per the revised rules, a unique porting code will be generated for a subscriber who requests for mobile number portability. If the user meets the eligibility criteria, the code should be issued to the user within 5 minutes of placing the request. TRAI notes that porting to other operator within the same circle will be executed within 3 working days, and if porting is for another circle, it will be executed within 5 days. There is no change in the porting timelines for the corporate mobile connections. Also, there is no change in the porting timeline for porting to different states altogether.
करीब 2 या 3 दिन में ही ये मोबाइल नंबर पोर्टेबिलिटी आपकी लागू हो जाएगी. 2 या 3 दिन में ही नंबर बदल जाएगा, और नंबर बदल नहीं जाएगा, सर्विस प्रोवाइडर आपका बदल जाएगा, नंबर वही रहेगा.
Reliance Industries has toppled Indian Oil Corporation to become India's largest company in the Fortune India 500 list, scoring the top position. With a revenue of 5.81 lakh crore rupees in the year 2018-19, the Mukesh Ambani-led conglomerate has also become the first privately held company to top this list. State-owned Oil and Natural Gas Corporation has been ranked 3rd, followed by State Bank of India, Tata Motors and Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited. A Delhi court convicted expelled BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar on Monday for raping a woman in Unnao in the year 2017. The court convicted Sengar for rape under the Indian Penal Code and the POCSO Act for offence by a public servant committing penetrative sexual assault against a child. The court said the victim's testimony was truthful and unblemished against a powerful person. It also expressed surprise over the delay by the CBI in filing charge sheet in the rape case and said it prolonged trial against Sengar and others. Arguments on the quantum of sentence will be heard on Wednesday. The offences entail maximum punishment of life imprisonment. However, co-accused Shashi Singh was acquitted of all charges by the court. The trial in the high-profile case was held in camera after the Supreme Court transferred the matter from Uttar Pradesh to national capital Delhi. A special court was also held at AIIMS Hospital on September 11th, 12th and 13th to record the statement of the rape survivor who was admitted at the hospital after she was airlifted from a hospital in Lucknow. And the country celebrated Vijay Divas on Monday to commemorate India's victory over Pakistan in the 1971 war. Tributes were paid to the martyrs at the War Memorial on the occasion of Victory Day. Minister of State for Defence, Shripad Yesu Naik, saluted the martyrs. The 3 service chiefs were also present and they also paid tributes. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also expressed gratitude to the officers, former servicemen of the Indian Army who sacrificed their lives during the 1971 war. The Vice President hailed Indian Army's indomitable gallantry, courage and patience for writing the glorious victory saga back in 1971. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he salutes the courage and valor of the Indian soldiers, in a Twitter message, the Prime Minister wrote, "The history created by the Indian Army on this day in 1971 will always be engraved in golden words." In 1971, India won the war against Pakistan that resulted in the birth of Bangladesh, which was then called East Pakistan. Also on this day, 93,000 soldiers of the Pakistani army surrendered to India. And now let's talk about environment and climate change. The latest report by the UN Environment Programme states that the number of policy and regulatory measures backing green finance has doubled since 2015. The report was released on the sidelines of COP25, which ended recently. There are now over 391 national and sub-national policy and regulatory measures on green finance in place globally, which is a 106% increase since 2015. Green finance movement is accelerating, with a record 79 new measures implemented or announced in the year 2019. These measures help clarify the responsibilities of financial institutions with respect to environmental factors within capital markets and helps us become sustainable natural resource-based green economy and climate-smart blue economy. And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you for your time.